In this video, we are going to explore Gemini CLI's most common flags for setting headless mode, checkpointing, Yolo mode, sandboxing, and more. We can start the model in headless mode by using the -p flag and include further directories in the context with include-directories flag. Now, further useful flags include -m for selecting the model we want to use. For example, Gemini -m, Gemini 2.5 Flash will let the CLI use Gemini's Flash model. Checkpoints are Gemini CLI's built-in versioning and rollback system for file edits that is enabled by the checkpointing flag. When activated, it creates a snapshot of your project's state before any modifications are made, ensuring you can easily revert to a previous version if needed. Now let's see it in action. I'm going to go ahead and start Gemini with checkpointing enabled and then ask it to create a test.txt file and write inside, "This is a checkpointing test." Next, I'm going to allow the file creation and run a few shell commands to make sure the file has been successfully created. Now, if we type in the restore command, we can see that the checkpoint for the test.txt file has been created. This means that if I make any changes to the file, I can always revert to its current version. And let's test this. First, I'm going to prompt Gemini to change test.txt contents and write inside, "This is a second checkpointing test." And after a few seconds, we can see that Gemini has successfully updated the file, which we can verify by running the cat test.txt command. Running restore again, and we can see two checkpoints, which reflect the changes we made to the test.txt file. I'm now going to restore the first checkpoint, which will return test.txt to its initial state. Gemini confirms this by outputting restored projects to the state before the tool call, and we could also verify ourselves that this is the case by running cat test.txt again. One more thing, Gemini CLI uses the home/.gemini/settings JSON files for persistent configuration, and you can also enable persistent checkpointing there by writing general checkpointing enabled true. Yolo mode. Caution with the next one. If Gemini wants to execute some commands that may be dangerous, such as creating or editing a file, executing shell scripts, it will ask for permission. To allow all future command executions or tool calls without having to grant explicit permissions every time, you can start Gemini in trusted mode with the Yolo flag by typing Gemini --Yolo. And a quick tip here, you can use the Ctrl+Y to toggle Yolo mode. Approval mode. Gemini CLI's approval mode default always asks for permission, and we've already been using it, but auto-edit is interesting. In auto-edit mode, Gemini auto-approves tools such as file editing or creation, but it does ask for permission when you want to run shell commands, for example. Another quick tip. Once you're in Gemini CLI, you can use Shift+Tab to toggle auto-edit mode. Auto-edit is less strict than default, but more strict than Yolo mode. And you can also enable Yolo mode with the approval mode flag by typing Gemini approval mode Yolo. Next up, allowed tools. If you don't want to enable Yolo mode, this flag comes in handy and lets us specify which tools Gemini CLI can run without permission. Either use as allowed tools equals shell tool, or you can also modify settings JSON with tools allowed shell tool. Also, you can achieve a more granular control by passing exact tool and command you want to allow, such as run shell command git. Under GeminiCLI.com/docs/tools, you can find the exact tool names which you can use with this flag. Output format. With Gemini output format JSON, you can ask Gemini to output the response in a JSON instead of human-readable format. This is useful in headless mode for programmatic consumption. For example, I can write Gemini output format JSON, how are you? After which Gemini responds in a JSON format. Sandbox. The sandbox flag starts Gemini CLI in a secure environment such as Docker or Seatbelt for macOS. There are quite a lot of ways to configure the sandbox environment, and I'll talk more about it in my upcoming Ultimate Gemini CLIs video on my YouTube channel. Telemetry. The telemetry flag, Gemini CLI telemetry, enables advanced usage monitoring and deeper insights into Gemini CLI. It's a bit complicated. For a simple, quick overview without the full telemetry, use the /stats command. To learn more about telemetry in Gemini CLI, check out the following link, as it goes beyond the scope of this video. To see all available flags, simply type in Gemini --help, but these were the most common ones. I've created the ultimate Gemini CLI guide on YouTube, which I'm going to release in the following days on my channel. Once released, I'm going to link the video in the description if you're interested. Thanks for watching.